In the aftermath of the Civil War, America was left a strongly divided nation both politically and racially. Reconstruction efforts grew substantially in the following years as the North and the South strived to reunite its country and citizens. However, regardless of the multitude of things done during these years to regain social, economic, and political equality for U.S. citizens, for the most part, not enough was done to completely eliminate racial segregation and discrimination in society. With the presence of Jim Crow laws, poll taxes, black codes, and many other racial injustices, the United States was far from fully reuniting its citizens and creating equality for all. Even with the passing of the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments, blacks were still treated very unfairly. The social segregation between blacks and whites was profound. In the case Plessy v. Ferguson, Supreme Court ruled that public and private institutions could be racially segregated as long as both sections were equally funded. This, along with Jim Crow laws, created a large social imbalance. Document B, for example, depicts a black man outside of a colored waiting room, which shows how little the 14th Amendment did to provide equal protection under the law. Black codes were passed in many southern states, preventing blacks from immigrating into certain states and banning interracial marriage. Also, poll taxes and literacy tests were often incorporated into the voting process for blacks. Overall, many of the freedoms of blacks were very limited. Document C describes the extreme prejudice that was present in America as colored firemen were stoned and cursed as they tried to celebrate their country on the 4th of July. This exemplifies how strong the discrimination was in parts of the United States during this time period. Economic inequality was also still present in the United States. In Document A, it is shown that blacks were not properly compensated for their property and work as slaves after the Civil War. Also, many freed blacks became sharecroppers, which was a low-paying occupation. In Document E, it is obvious that being a laborer was a demanding job, and if the laborer didn't give the plantation owner his portion of the harvest, he would be evicted from the land and forced to find work elsewhere. There was much less opportunity for blacks in America. After the Panic of 1873, many citizens turned away from Republicans and began to support Southern Democrats, which did no good for blacks in any way. As Democrats gained more political ground, the status of blacks and their equality only lowered. Free blacks slowly began gaining power in America's political system, but it was far from anything substantial. Organizations such as the Ku Klux Klan, portrayed in Document H, struck fear into all blacks in the South and tried to keep them, along with Republicans, from voting. Radical Democrats especially didn't think that blacks should serve in the government. Document I shows a radical Democrat's sarcastic view of blacks in government. Republicans that came into the South to assist in Reconstruction were often called carpetbaggers, and many were hanged throughout the South due to the fear that they would gain more political dominance for the Republicans in southern states. Overall, it was the harsh tensions between the Democrats and Republicans and in American politics that created so much hatred and discrimination. The Reconstruction was effective in healing the South of its wounds from the Civil War, but in no way did it reunite America as a whole. In conclusion, although much was done after the Civil War to try and bring social, economic, and political equality to all citizens of the United States, there was still a prevalence of racial discrimination and segregation as tensions between whites and blacks rose in the South. However, the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments were all great strides towards equality, and with the formation of organizations such as the NAACP, much work was done to end segregation and provide justice to all blacks. These were not, however, effective enough at the time to completely eliminate imbalances between whites and blacks. It wasn't until the mid-20th century when a major civil rights movement began to form and blacks began to gain equal ground with whites, and equality was finally within reach.